Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to What's Up Wednesdays with the professionals at the Roundtable, always brought to you by Healing Your Way. Remember, if you like the podcast, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. It really means the world to us. But today we are joined by...
I'm Suzanne.
Hi, Suzanne. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do?
Well, I am a yoga instructor and a dance instructor, and I have a love for Sanskrit, Ayurveda, journaling, and I'd love to bring that into my teachings.
Awesome. How do you incorporate it?
In my yoga classes, I like to start with just a little or a brief introduction to mantra and go into a mantra, explain the translation, and then chant it and invite people to chant with me, but they don't have to. They can just sit and soak up the vibration of the Sanskrit language. It's a vibrational language. It's the language of enlightenment. So it's nice to start these spiritual practices with a mantra, and then I'll explain the mantra and what it means, and then I'll go into the, I guess, more physical aspect of the yoga practice of doing asana, which is yoga postures, which is what is, I would say, in this culture is the most popular. People know about yoga poses, right? The physical aspect of yoga, but there's so much more to yoga. And what I love about it is it's traditionally designed to bring the systems of the body, the physical body, into harmony, much like Eastern medicine or acupuncture and things like that. So you're bringing the body into a state of harmony. That's the goal, as well as incorporating harmony for the mental state and the spirit or the soul. So there's a nourishment, a soul nourishment to the practice, trying to just bring everything into that harmonized place, into yoga, which technically means union. So the word comes from yuj, which means to join. So you're joining the self with the higher self. So we come to that understanding that we're part of it. And the poses or the postures are just one piece of the practice of yoga. But again, that's the most popular one. And I think it's the most accessible one. You know, when you move through in different positions, you know, you can relate to that, right? So the poses are also in themselves a story. You're telling a story about the gods and the goddesses, because each pose has a name, and many of them are the names of the gods and goddesses, right? So you're telling the story of a great warrior, Virabhadrasana, warrior one, you know, things like that. So there's so much depth to the practice of yoga. And I love to incorporate all of that. I think there's a real, like I said, like there's a nourishment in that and bringing harmony back to ourselves.
Yeah. So you said that the poses are the most accessible, they're the most popular. What other kinds of yoga are there?
There is karma yoga. Karma yoga is like volunteering, selfless service, going to the church and doing community lunch or something like that, washing dishes, helping to feed people or clothe people or help people without expecting any recognition.
Right.
Would be like a karma yogi. Karma means, the root of the word kar means action, right? So this we're doing some sort of action. And then there's like jnana yoga, which is more of an intellectual piece of yoga, maybe studying the Vedanta. Maybe we're going to study the scriptures, and maybe we're going to meditate and do these types of practices, which is still yoga, because you're trying to attain yoga or union with the highest. That's self-realization. So yeah, there's many aspects: selfless service, so serving others, studying scripture, bhakti yoga. Bhakti is devotion. So some people would find that union with the highest through devotion to maybe their form of the divine, however they practice that, or worship. Or even, I think you could take bhakti yoga to even doesn't have to be a god or a goddess, maybe another human being, this deep sense of devotion. So yeah, there's many types of yoga.
I mean, I never knew how broad the realm could be. So I'm interested definitely. How did you get started? Where did you start?
I started with someone approaching me because I had actually done Chinese Kung Fu. It was like CLM or Shaolin Kung Fu. And I was like a martial artist. And for some reason, they thought that there was a connection. And they said, oh, well, can you just teach a yoga class? And I was like, I've never taken a yoga class. So I really quick went and started taking yoga classes and fell in love with every aspect of it. And that's how it basically started. Someone asking me if I could teach a yoga class. So it brought me to learn yoga.
Yeah, you were kind of put on the spot and you said, okay,
Yeah.
I got this. I got this. I love that. It's things, when it's meant to be, it finds you is really what it is. So you were meant to be part of the world,
Yeah.
Was it challenging when you started?
I immediately fell in love with it. I didn't find it. I found the silence and the stillness to be the most challenging. And but I loved it, and I loved it so much that I decided to take a teacher training at an ashram, which is a spiritual retreat center. People have these ashrams that they go to immerse themselves in the teachings and the practices. And the first one I took was in Florida, in Yogi Hari's ashram. And it was a wonderful experience. I stayed in their ashram, which was basically an extension of their home. And Yogi Hari was a kirtanwala, so he always did the mantras and the chanting. And I'm brand new to yoga, and I was kind of into the movement aspect. I love the spiritual aspect, but I was like, what's all this chanting? And why do I have to eat this weird ashram food? It was so funny. And why are they telling me I'm not my body or my mind? And I look back now and I was like, that was a really intense and really good training. They're teaching us the traditions, the classical Vedanta, the Vedic teachings, that you're more than just the physical form. And that's my dog, Russell. I'm going to try to shut the door. I don't know how it's going to. He barks at the goats. It's a whole thing that goes on here.
No worries.
So yeah, so I took the classes and I took the training, and it was, I want to say that was 26 years ago. And it was just a very interesting experience for me, my first ashram experience, to be fully immersed yogic lifestyle from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed.
Mhm.
And it was I loved it. I loved it. But as I came away from it, and through the years, I was like, wow, that was really a good teacher training. Now I know why they're saying about the body and mind.
Yeah.
Now I know why, excuse me, we should be eating a sattvic diet, or foods that are a clean diet, foods
Mhm.
that are pure, that are whole. Um, and that brought me to the study of Ayurveda, which is just a wellness system from India, you know. And with Ayurveda, you'll work with diet, you'll work with lifestyle, and you'll work with what's right for your constitution or your makeup, which
Mhm.
each one of us is very, we're
Oh
the
yeah.
same but different.
Mhm. Body
So
type.
yeah,
I mean, that's kind of what is so beautiful about being a human is everybody is so unique in their own
y-
way. So
yeah, I
uh,
agree.
I do love that that's taken into account. How much of that experience do you think you actually like took home with you and took into your day-to-day life?
Well, I think I took a lot of it home in the heart.
Hmm.
And some of it may have been in the back burner. But I knew I wanted to continue this practice. Um, how often do I incorporate it? So we were sent home with a workbook that said one question, and I'll never forget it. How much time spent in idle gossip or something like that? And I was like, wow, that's a great question. So it brought me back to checking myself, and I wish I had the checklist with me. It would ask you. You're kind of asking yourself or checking in with yourself. Are you in your practice? Are you in your sadhana, as we call it in Sanskrit? Are we in the sadhana? Are we living a yogic lifestyle? Or how much
Hmm.
time spent in useless company? It was something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and it was a profound question, because it brought me back to, wow, okay, let me stay on the right path, and let me hang out with like-minded people,
Hmm.
right? And that's always raises your frequency, I believe. So keeping that frequency on a higher level, and being around people that are enlightened, people that or you can learn from or be inspired by, is
Yeah.
also part of yoga.
I love that. What kind of changes have you noticed to like your overall health, mental, physical?
What I noticed was, I would become more aware. I was raising my awareness. So before reacting, um, before reacting, taking that moment to say, okay, one, is it worth it?
Hmm.
and two, because I can be a hard, I've got a little edge.
Hmm.
Um, so I have to check myself. I have to come back and raise awareness. And I think that was a really important thing for somebody like me, to step back for a second before reacting. Um, the meditation for me did have a very healthy calming effect. Um, it also helped to really activate intuition, like seeing beyond the unseen. And I think this meditation helped to, and I think for everyone actually, it would give you the space to get away from this thinking mind and move into this deep place of wisdom and of knowing
Hmm.
that we sometimes don't give ourselves a chance to experience. I
Yeah.
don't think it's encouraged, on the everyday, like at the everyday job or whatever. It's not
Mhm.
encouraged to sit and move into this and create space for this deep knowing, for our innate wisdom to come through.
Yeah. I also feel like it's very hard to get into that space, especially if you're like your only source of knowledge is finding things online, where it
Oh
says
yeah.
like close your eyes, focus on your breath. And my head is now focused on, okay, I'm breathing. What if I forget to tell myself to breathe? And then I have to open my eyes.
That's hilarious. The good news is, you'll know when you're not breathing.
Factory reset at its finest.
Yeah. So it's just, it's important. Also, the meditation physically has so many benefits. It nourishes, it recalibrates, it resets, like you just used the word reset, the nervous system, the central nervous system. Because we're pretty, again, I believe that culturally, there's a lot of encouragement to no pain, no gain, rush, 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 do, which is detrimental,
right,
to our state of balance, of harmony. We have to come back to that. And that's what brought me to Healing Your Way, to come back into this state of harmony. And because it's so important for the physical and mental and spiritual,
Absolutely. And I feel like we tend to come back to this like every other podcast at the very least, but you just mentioned it so perfectly. Like the current culture is go, go, go. If you don't win, you're losing. You have to put in the extra hours, put in the overtime, but all you're doing is burning yourself out in the long run. When you don't take that time, a few minutes every day to check in with yourself, those are the people that go farther.
Exactly. And your health is important, because if you lose that, where you going?
Yep.
Where you going? And I also think that the yoga gives you a chance to, you have 60 minutes, let's say it's a 60-minute class. You have just now gifted yourself with 60 minutes of raising your frequency, permission to raise your frequency, permission to not answer the phone, permission to not be distracted by things on the outer realm. You can move within and allow yourself to move, to twist, to breathe, to nourish the organs, to again recalibrate the systems of the body, reset them, and reset the mind and nourish the spirit. 60 minutes, honestly, that's all. And like you said, in the morning, you could even set the timer for 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. And we do have that time. If we don't get on the computer to scroll around, you do have the time for a 5-minute meditation.
Absolutely. Facebook will still be there.
It will still be there.
Done. Absolutely.
It's like, and I think that there needs to be somewhat of a purging of this inundated state of the social media and all that stuff. I think it does something to the consciousness. I'm sure it does. I don't know exactly what it does, but probably get better results and move closer to enlightenment with a 5-minute meditation.
I've seen articles. I don't remember where exactly the source is, so please forgive me, but there have been studies done on attention spans and how they're being affected, especially now that TikTok is such a big thing and you have these 15-second, 30-second clips, and a lot of people aren't even finishing those because they've lost interest. So there is an impact that's happening.
And in an asana class or the yoga class where we're doing these poses, 5 breaths. Can you hold a pose for 5 inhalations and 5 exhalations? Like, it's a really good practice, or maybe you're holding the pose longer. So it's really important to bring our attention back. Along with a yogic diet or an Ayurvedic type diet also helps, because I think that diet is also affected with the culture of the go go go. There's no chance for digestion,
Yeah.
proper digestion.
And I would tag on to that and say proper nutrition.
Exactly.
You're not stopping to make a meal that's actually going to nourish the body, and you're just stopping at McDonald's.
Right. Oh, right. Exactly. And like I said, when I took my first teacher training with Yogi Hari, they did incorporate Ayurveda. The beautiful Leela Mata, his wife, was the Ayurvedic teacher. And then we had Ayurvedic meals. And I would go to the gas station, no lie, 26 years ago, to get a cheese Danish, mumbling about not being in the body and mind. I don't know what they're talking about. It was so funny. And your body feels awful when you do that. And when the more you become aware of, you're trying to cleanse the body through this practice. And so you notice that it feels awful when you start putting those things in. The healthier you're getting, and the clearer you are. Nutrition is a big one. And I don't think it has to be that complicated either. With these crazy fad diets and stuff, like a pure sattvic, we call it sattvic, pure, clean food. It's simple, simple. Makes a huge difference, And for some like me, it was kind of the last thing for me to get on board with, because I liked sugar, and I still like to eat sweet things, but sweet things could be honey or a pure food. And in Ayurveda, even in the yogic texts, you'll see certain foods are healing, that are sweet, or certain healing that are pungent. And I think with practicing the physical aspect of yoga, the poses, the postures, you become detoxed, so to speak. You start to become more balanced. And then you start to actually crave the nourishment, the good foods, because you want to continue to feel good.
Yeah. So it's building blocks. And I love that you mentioned that too, because sometimes it can seem daunting when you're looking at this new lifestyle. You're looking at something that you're very interested in, but you don't have to take it all on at once. You can go in manageable steps until it feels right for you. So I love that you mentioned that. We do have a few questions in the chat, a couple that I'm very interested in. I want to gain more access to my higher self. Can yoga help me do that?
Yoga, the word actually means just that. Yoga is to join it. You're joining the small self, this part of ourself, with the higher self, the capital S self, as we call it. Yes, that is the attainment of yoga. That's what it means. You're practicing all these poses, meditations, pranayamas, breathing practices, to attain just that, to become one with the higher self, to be in that highest frequency. Enlightenment is the main goal. Sometimes it takes several lifetimes for enlightenment, but yes, higher self is the goal, is the word yoga. It is what yoga is. And there are several classes or different types of classes. So sometimes, with that being the goal, that's what you want to happen. You might be sort of shopping around and checking out different styles of yoga class, because you can go to one and it can be extremely athletic, and maybe they're watering down the other aspects of it, the spiritual aspects of it, the meditative aspects of it. And that probably wouldn't be the class for somebody that wants to really just be one with the highest. So maybe you would go to a class that was very classic, more traditional, If the athletic endeavor feels daunting, you could try a gentle yoga. You can try a restorative yoga. If you're feeling like your body is taxed, a gentle or restorative yoga would be nice because they're moving slower. You're staying in the poses longer. And you're giving yourself a chance to sort of marinate in the sweetness of the healing energy of yoga. So you find the class that is going to offer you these lessons and say, here's a way to help get yourself, connected with the higher self. You are the higher self. It's not like you're not, right? We just have to peel away the layers and realize it. And yes, the practice of yoga can definitely do that.
Yeah. And I feel like you might have actually answered the next question just in the answer to this one, but you might be able to build on it a little bit. Can yoga help those who have limited mobility? And is there anything you can do to adjust the class to them?
Yes, yes, yes. So limited mobility could be the joints. Maybe you have new joints, right? Replaced joints. Maybe you have scar tissue or arthritic conditions or something like that. So you can still do the yoga practice, but the class you might not want to do that athletic endeavor class because it's not going to serve your body, right? You could take chair yoga, even chair yoga. You're still going to gain the benefits of the practice. Yin yoga is something that's become popular. It's the poses are held very long, and they're working into cartilage and tissue, tendons, to deep. They're really going in deeply into the body. Or just a simple restorative yoga class where they're using a lot of props. And those classes, like we talked about, are just trying to sort of rejuvenate you, try to nourish the body, nourish the tissues without having to hurt yourself. And a lot of times, if there's emotional trauma that people have, the vigorous classes may not be the best for somebody that's going through that's just trying to heal themselves through trauma, physical or mental. So a gentler, more restorative and more meditative class would probably be you'd probably feel safer in that, in energy.
And then they also wanted to follow up. Do you do all of the yogas that you're talking about, or do you have more of like a specialty or a favorite?
I teach all of them.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to say for my current condition that I'm in now in my physical body, I love a slow flowing vinyasa class. So vinyasa is a special sequence. That's what it technically means, vinyasa krama. So that's where you see us going from one pose to another pose, and then another pose. And so for somebody who's a beginner, they might want to start with something a little more stationary, a little more like, let me learn this pose first. Warrior 1 pose. Let me learn Warrior 2 pose. Let me rest in between poses. That might be a more basic. But my favorite, I love them all, but my favorite, I think, is the slow flow vinyasa. I add some very creative aspects to it. Visualizations and mantra in the beginning and deep relaxation at the end of the class. And that's my favorite. Right now.
Right now.
That could evolve.
Okay. We're always growing. We're always growing. And then we do have somebody, you mentioned briefly when we very first started that you're also involved with dance. And somebody was wondering if you could talk a little bit more on that as well.
Oh, the belly dance. So it's belly dance. And belly dance, I believe, is one of the most empowering movement practices that a woman could do. And what brought me to belly dance was, I want to say at the time I started, I was practically starving myself and trying to look a certain way.
Mhm.
And this profound transformation happened studying belly dance. I stopped wearing all black. I started putting colors on. I started to enjoy circular movements and working with my hips and arms in this very fluid way. Um, it's low impact. If you had to talk about how it is as a physical practice, it is designed for every woman in every age and every shape and every form. And that's what I love about most about belly dance. You do not have to be any certain shape, size, or age. And it's welcoming to everyone. And it was done traditionally with groups of women. It was practiced in a culture that women stayed in the house a lot together during the day. So I mean, let's face it, a bunch of women hanging out all day in the house, anything could happen, right? So you've got this tribal energy, right? This group, you're already in a tribe of supportive women. You're friends. You're moving. You're dancing. You're laughing. You're supporting each other. And that is what I love most about the dance. And so it's belly dance, but I know one of the questions I get a lot is, I don't want to take the classes. I don't want my belly to show. Your belly does not have to show. You can wear long shirts. You can wear whatever you want. And um, it's a fun way to exercise. You don't know you're exercising because you're getting a little bit dressed up and you're doing things that look sinuous and snake-like and circular. So it's just a lot of fun um, to belly dance. Yeah.
And you teach those classes as well, or is it just a passion?
No, I teach them. Yeah, I teach belly dance as well. And I bring the hip scarves with me if you don't have them, so you can all get dressed up.
And that's like you tie them around the hips, and do they have like the shakers, right?
They have the coins,
Mm.
and the coins have a whole history. Like, there's a lot of stories about the coins. One is that these priestesses in the temples, they were actually timekeepers in the temples. And if you went to visit the temple, you would throw the coin into the lap of the goddess. And then so that's one of the symbols of these belts that we wear. And another one is cultural. A lot of the women who did these Middle Eastern dances were nomadic. Some of them were nomadic, not all of them. They would, if people are giving them money, they would sew them into their attire so they couldn't get robbed. So they're making sure they have their money and sewing them onto their outfits.
To keep their bank safe.
Yes.
Keep their bank safe. Does belly dance help you with tight muscles? It seems like there is a lot of shaking that can feel like it can release tight muscles.
So belly dance, I would say yes. Usually I do a little stretch in the beginning. And sometimes at the end. But the dance itself, I feel that the dance itself starts to warm the body up. So your muscles are going to loosen up. And the shaking that you're talking about, like we call it a shimmy, is so earthy. It's such an earthy movement. It awakens on a metaphysical level all the energy wheels in our body, or the 7 main ones, the chakras. So you're awakening the chakras, and with the shimmy, you're especially working with lower chakras. And that in itself, if you did a shimmy, you're going to create heat in your body. You're going to get warm. With the warmth, you can start to move a little more and a little more and a little more. The stretches feel really different than what you would do in a yoga class. They feel, I don't want to say they're more fun, because yoga can be fun, right? But I think you're stretching and toning while you're dancing. You don't feel like, I wouldn't consider belly dance as I'm stretching and toning. I'm dancing. I'm celebrating. So you're stretching and toning while you're celebrating.
Is there a difference for you between yoga and belly dance as far as in the heart?
As far as
Like in the heart, in your personal life?
That's a great question. I think I like them or love them equally. I think I love them equally. I think with belly dance, what I do, one of the things I love about belly dance is, let's say someone didn't have the mobility to do yoga asanas.
Mm-hmm.
I think that belly dance would be fine for them. And so that there's that aspect. Yoga is intense stretching. They're stretching intensely. You're not forcing or hurting yourself. That's not what it's meant for.
Mm-hmm.
And then in belly dance, you're not, that same stretching intensity is not there. You're getting flexible in coming in from a different direction, let's say. But yeah, I love them both the same, I think.
They're both your babies.
That's a really good question.
Both the babies. It'd be wrong to pick a favorite. What should somebody expect coming into one of your classes, yoga or belly dance?
They can expect to be welcomed and to feel completely safe in the environment. That is one of the most important things, that I want to hold space for everyone to feel safe and comfortable and supported. I would say you're going to walk out definitely knowing something you didn't know before you walked in, or I'm hoping anyway. Whether it be some little Sanskrit, word, or a little history. I love history. I studied mythology in college. So there's always going to be a story there. And I love to share the lessons that my teachers taught me, things that stuck with me, that inspired me, and I share them. So I'm hoping that you'd walk out with maybe some little tidbit, a little snippet of wisdom that or knowledge that you didn't have when you came in. So hopefully you could just, put that in your little treasure box.
Yeah, take it with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How do you pick your mantras? I know you said that, you have one at the beginning of every yoga class. Is it usually the same one? Is it a different one?
It's usually they're different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I kind of get into the classroom, get into my seat, kind of read the room, so to speak, or feel some sort of intuitive message that's telling me what we're going to chant that day. It's kind of spontaneous. Yeah.
Picking up on the vibes.
I'm picking up on the vibes. Unless it's like if it's a celebration of the goddess. Let's say there's a traditional 9-night celebration. It's called Navratri. They'll celebrate the 9 forms of Devi. Or Devi is the goddess, and so I might be chanting a mantra that day to that specific form of the divine feminine. But most days I just kind of feel the vibe and just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you know the 9 forms off the top of your head?
They're all forms of goddess Durga. That's a great question too. I'm going to try to, I don't know all the names that we're using. Gauri is one of them. That's Parvati. She's my favorite, so I always remember her. Brahmacharini is another form, a more austere form. Parvati is an earth mother, goddess. Um, Kalratri is goddess Kali. She's pretty fierce. She's badass. Form of the divine feminine.
Mhm.
Durga Kali. I don't know if there's Sarasvati in there. There has to be a form of Sarasvati, which would be the goddess of wisdom, the arts, and creativity. Yeah, that's all I can think of. Chandra, maybe. Chandra is wearing a moon. But that's all I can think of off the top of my head. Those forms of goddess Durga. Earth
That
Mother,
was
you
mhm.
know, Yasini, or like a spiritual woman, austere, the teacher, the fierce warrior, these aspects. We all have the aspects within us.
Mhm.
And Devi means, so Dev means light. So Devas and Devis, gods and goddesses, are light beings. That's what they are.
I love that. Do you find one that you said that you have a favorite, but typically do you find one that you identify with, or are we love all of them equally?
I love all the forms, but I'm drawn to the earth mother or daughter of the mountain. Her name is Parvati or Parvati. Um, Parvam is the mountain. Ati is of the mountain. So she is of the mountain. She's the daughter of the mountain. She's the consort to Lord Shiva. So you have this aspect of Shiva and Shakti, and she is. I just love her. She's the mother of Ganesha. Everyone has seen Ganesha, the elephant god. If you're studying yoga, you always see Ganesha. He just always pops up, right? He's the Lord. He's the Lord of the subtle energies of the universe. So we pray to him in the beginning of anything for success. He puts things in their proper order. But I would say Parvati, I feel drawn to, and um, her name is Aranyani. So Aranyani is also an earth goddess, and she's very elusive. She wears bells on her ankles. Sometimes they call them gungaroos in the classical Indian dance. And she flutters around the forests. She watches over the herds of cows, and she doesn't reveal herself very often. Sometimes hunters will go in and they'll try to find this enchantress. Um, but I like the fact that she's elusive, because my place to go for meditation and healing is the forest, to sort of just get away from it all. Right?
So I know that, like you mentioned, that was something that you would have a mantra for in yoga. Do you do the same thing when you go into your belly dancing classes as well?
Um, I never plan on chanting mantra. I don't really chant mantra in the belly dance class.
Yeah.
But sometimes my choices of music may have mantra threaded in
Mhm.
with the music. I always seem to be drawn to that. Um, um, Mostly though in belly dance, I'm playing Middle Eastern rhythms, different rhythms, or more ethereal sounds, which they call taksim. Taksim is like a loose, it, I'd say an ethereal sound, like I said, like a very
Mhm.
airy sound, less percussion, And then that's usually how you warm up with these ethereal sounds. And there's bows and things like that, maybe little mudras. Um, and then we go into the more percussive uh, drumming sounds. Anything can happen in belly dance. I'm not gonna lie.
Is it like a wild card?
Like, yeah, it could go any direction. Depends where the ladies are taking me. Yeah. It could be a Romani dance. It could wind up being a more gypsy dance type. It could be a more Egyptian style dance. It could be a more Turkish style dance. Just sort of feel it out. Once we get the basic movements, we just kind of like go where we need to go.
And you just pick up from there. Is it like very beginner friendly, like first time ever?
Yes, that's actually what I gear it towards. I gear it towards beginners. I like to break down the movements slowly. And because belly dance, one of the gifts of belly dance is no two people will ever look the same doing those movements. And I love that. So you shouldn't look like the person next to you. You shouldn't look exactly like them because you're doing the movement in your body. And I'll break it down. I'll introduce the movements. And from these, I would say you could take 4 movements in belly dance and create a routine out of it because you've got so many circles. Circles can turn into figure eights. Figure eights can go this way and then they can go this way. So you're doing a figure eight, maybe parallel to the floor, and then all of a sudden you're doing them horizontal. It's the same figure eight, but you just changed the direction. You can bend your knees and make them low, and then you can straighten your legs and make them higher slightly. They're never locked out though. Your knees are never locked out. So there's so many things you can do with the movement. So I always encourage beginners to come. Basic beginner belly dance. Because I feel like people need to feel invited. And I think the word dance for some reason intimidates people. Like as soon as they hear dance, they're like, I can't dance. I don't know how to dance.
That is me. I've got the 2 left feet, stiff as a board.
But everyone can dance and everyone can move. And it's your movement. It's your movement. It's in your body. I'm just saying, draw a circle around your feet with your hips if you had to visualize, and then you're doing it. It's almost like, now that I'm thinking about it, there's no really wrong movement, right? You can't really go wrong with a circle. How could you not do it correctly, right? So, and then there's a lot of imitation of snakes, serpentine movements. And my teacher, one of my teachers, her name was Morocco. They called her Morocco. She was actually a Romanian gypsy, and she was incredibly intelligent, and she was a great teacher. And she had said first she said the Nile actually kind of flows opposite of the direction most rivers would actually supposed to be flowing. So I thought that was really interesting. And she also said the snakes were good because it meant something about fertility or the crops are going to grow. So you see all these serpentine movements, and snakes are so symbolic of rebirth and things like that. Yeah.
We have I feel like this kind of ties in very heavily with a lot of the undertones. You're talking very positive about woman and divine woman and their nature. Does your work incorporate that into your classes?
Yeah. This is my whole life does. It's just there. Yes. Though in the asana class, the yoga classes, there are both men and women in that class. And so we if we're talking about a god, there's also a divinity in that. So we're in Virabhadrasana 1, Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 1, warrior 2. He's a great warrior, you know. And so yes, there's a lot of divine talking in my class, a lot of focus on divine energy. In belly dance, it is specifically divine feminine, and in the asana class, I see the asana as we're barefoot, we're on the ground, we're dancing the stories of the gods and goddesses through the poses, and the earth, which is Bhumeshwari, or the mother, she's the goddess, she's holding us all equally, she's supporting us. So that essence of divine, earth mother never ever leaves. It's always an honoring, because our bodies are part of the earth. And one of my teachers, she would always say, there's a verse, it's from a yogic teaching, from Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. It's a lessons on yoga, and he was a great sage, and it was a Sthira Sukham Asanam. And Sthira Sukham Asanam is basically saying, this is how my teacher would love to translate it. Our connection to the earth is steady and joyous. We're part of the earth. We're an extension of it. And so there's always that aspect of honoring the earth, or the divine. I say feminine all the time, but there's always the masculine as well. Shiva's masculine. Hanuman is masculine. He's a monkey god. He's the perfect bhakti yoga, right? Yogi. He's the god of devotion. So there are aspects of divine male and divine female, but yeah. In belly dance, we're straight female. We're just dancing the goddess. We're all about the priestesses and the goddesses and the keepers of time, and even the movements are nourishing, very nourishing to the female body. So that's a big aspect to it as well.
Yeah. And for anybody who is interested in trying a yoga class, trying a belly dancing class, looking to connect with you, where can we find you?
That's a great question. And not in the woods, right? You can't find me. So at the moment, I teach yoga and belly dance workshops in Lambertville, New Jersey, at a place called Hometown Yoga Lambertville. Hometown Yoga Lambertville that's the essence of it, is very hometowny. And hopefully going to be with you guys at Healing Your Way, teaching yoga and belly dance. I am not an internet girl, which is much to my demise, right? Where am I on the where am I in this computer world? Doc Kinney. So I'm trying to think of my Instagram name. That's how much I'm using that Instagram. What is it called? I don't even know. Doc Kinney Yoga Flow. Suzanne Autumn might be on Facebook as such. Yeah. That's me. That's me running in the woods and not being out there in the world. You got to find me, right? I got to work on that one.
A free spirit is a free spirit, and it is not to be caught or tamed.
True.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to seeing you at Healing Your Way. I had such a great time speaking with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. Anytime. You're always welcome back. And as usual, everybody, thank you so much for joining me for Welcome Wednesdays, What's Up Wednesdays with the professionals at the Roundtable. Always brought to you by Healing Your Way. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of the places. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next week.
Maybe. Om Shanti.